Check out carmarshal.com. The link is in the description. They help support us.
Spent decades in prison for crimes they never committed, and tonight they're going after the same man who put them there.
Metro Council heard pleas tonight to investigate a former Louisville police detective after several wrongful convictions costing millions of dollars.
I definitely get emotional because of what I've had to go through and what my family's had to face. And I'm not the only one.
Edwin Chandler flew to Louisville from Georgia Wednesday to share his story with Metro Council members. Chandler spent 9 years in prison for a 1993 Louisville murder he didn't commit.
I was interrogated by police officer Mark Handy. And in that interrogation, I gave a false confession. And the reason that I gave that false confession primarily was because I was, threatened by Mr. Handy for that he would take my sister's children away, that he would have her locked up.
Chandler joined others asking Metro Council to request the Attorney General hire a special prosecutor to investigate former Louisville police detective Mark Handy.
Mr. Handy's not been brought to justice for any of the wrongdoing that he's done.
Handy also interrogated Jeffrey Clark and Keith Harden, who spent 22 years in prison, convicted of a murder they didn't commit. 2 weeks ago, a judge dismissed the charges against them, and for the first time, they walked out of court free men. Handy is accused of working to create a false theory that Clark and Harden murdered Rhonda Sue Warford in a satanic ritual killing. Retired LMPD Detective Denny Butler testified about Handy's involvement in 2 additional cases where there's also the same common denominator.
If you remove Mark Handy from those cases, those guys don't even get charged.
Chandler was exonerated in 2012. Metro government went on to pay him $8.5 million.
So to sum it up, Mark Handy tried to execute Edwin Chandler using our criminal justice system, knowing he was an innocent man.
Chandler and Butler want to know how many other innocent men and women are out there, pleading with Metro Council to take action. Council members did not vote tonight on asking a special prosecutor to investigate Handy. Within the last few weeks, Handy retired from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office.
Cop caught framing 3 innocent men, sending them to jail for decades, no charges. 3 innocent men who served a combined total of more than 50 years in prison before they were exonerated, blame one police officer for their wrongful convictions. By Rachel Blevins, March 17, 2018. Louisville, Kentucky, 3 innocent men have been released from prison after serving a combined total of more than 50 years for crimes they did not commit, and they all have one thing in common: a homicide detective who they blame for their wrongful convictions. Edwin Chandler spent 9 years in prison after he was convicted of shooting and killing store clerk Brenda Whitfield during a robbery in 1993. However, he was exonerated in 2010 after it was determined that another man, who was already serving 20 years on an unrelated assault charge, was responsible for the robbery and the murder. Chandler sued the city of Louisville and the police department and received $8.5 million in damages. However, the officer who he blames for forcing him to give a false confession faced no repercussions. Standing before the Metro City Council, Chandler shared his story and called for a new investigation into the actions of former Louisville police detective Mark Handy, according to a report from WDRB News. I was interrogated by a police officer, Mark Handy, Chandler said. And in that interrogation, I gave a false confession, and the reason I gave that false confession, primarily, is because I was threatened by Mr. Handy that he would take my sister's children away, that he would have her locked up. Chandler said despite the fact that he spent nearly a decade in prison for a crime he did not commit, he has nothing against police, and he simply wants to raise awareness about one individual who needs to be held accountable for his actions. Mr. Handy has not been brought to justice for any of the wrongdoing that he's done, Chandler said. Retired LMPD Detective Denny Butler testified on Chandler's behalf and accused Handy of threatening Chandler because he knew Chandler was innocent. So to sum it up, Mark Handy tried to execute Edwin Chandler using our criminal justice system, knowing he was an innocent man, Butler said. The former detective also said that Chandler was not the only victim, and there were multiple other cases where Handy was responsible for innocent men being wrongfully convicted. If you remove Mark Handy from those cases, these guys don't even get charged, he said. Jeffrey Clark was also present at the meeting, and he said Detective Handy was the one who interrogated him and Keith Harden when they were accused of murdering Rona Sue Wardard in 1992. Both Clark and Harden spent 22 years in prison after they were convicted of murdering Wardard during a satanic ritual. However, they were set free last month after new DNA evidence and accusations that investigators framed the pair led the Kentucky Supreme Court to vacate the convictions. I would like to see him in the general population of a prison so he can understand what it's like, Clark told WDRB at the council meeting. In another case from 1992, Keith West was convicted of murder in the shooting deaths of Kevin Haraway and Gerald White. He admitted to killing both men but claimed that he opened fire in self-defense because the men attempted to kidnap him with plans to sodomize him. Despite the fact that there was evidence to support his story, the evidence was never considered, and he faced the death penalty. Handy was the main homicide detective in the case, and after West's conviction was overturned, the Supreme Court of Kentucky admitted in court documents that Handy intentionally lied under oath in the case. While involved in another investigation in 1992, it is undisputed that Handy erased an eyewitness initial taped statement and recorded over it with a second statement, the document stated. When testifying under oath in that case, however, Handy stated that he did not erase or copy over any case. In addition to playing a central role in 4 murder convictions that have since been overturned, Handy's record includes accusations of other abuses of power, yet he never faced consequences for any of his actions. While Handy was allowed to quietly retire from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, the testimonies from men who spent decades of their lives in prison because of his manipulation and abuse have persuaded the Metro Council Public Safety Committee to pass a resolution that will request a new investigation into the actions of former Detective Mark Handy. WDRB 41 Louisville News.
Trying to find the
Emotional moments in the Metro Council chamber today. A man wrongfully convicted of murder in the 90s told the Public Safety Committee something has to be done. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Proffitt.
And I'm Lisa Hudson. A former Louisville officer has now been connected to at least 3 wrongful convictions, and the committee made a step toward getting the state attorney general involved.
1111's Anna Rivera covered the council chambers today.
Bearing the weight that I buried for 25 years. You know, it's very difficult. And excuse me, because
trying to find the words.
I definitely get emotional.
After decades of pain.
Because of what I've had to go through and what my family's had to face.
But now Edwin Chandler is just a little bit closer to justice.
All in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? This item will be sent to the full council for its approval.
The Metro Council Public Safety Committee passed a resolution that will ask Attorney General Andy Beshear to investigate former Louisville Police Detective Mark Handy. Handy threatened Chandler and his family to get a false confession for the 1993 murder of store clerk Brenda Whitfield. Chandler was wrongfully convicted and spent 9 years in prison.
So it's not about, anti-police. It's definitely about one person, one individual who needs to be held accountable for his actions.
Handy worked for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department until the end of February. He retired the same week another case out of Meade County was overturned due to his involvement. Jeff Clark and Keith Harden spent 22 years in prison for the 1995 murder of Rhonda Wofford. Clark sat in the Metro Council chambers.
I would like to see him in general population of a prison so he can understand what it's like.
2 men bonded over years of their lives lost, and they say it's all because of one man who should be held accountable. Now, this resolution will move to the full council for a vote next Thursday. Beshear has told WHS 11 before that he does have real concerns and that any case that involved Handy would need to be looked at. Now, coming up tomorrow morning on GMK, Renee Murphy sits down with Chandler. How does he feel about the man who helped put him behind bars for 9 years? Renee explains tomorrow morning. Anna Rivera, 11 at 11.
They spent half their lives in prison for a murder they did not commit.
WDRB's Lawrence Smith tells us now 2 Kentucky men have finally cleared their names.
For the first time in 26 years, Keith Harden and Jeff Clark walked out of this courthouse as free men.
I'm going to grant your motion as filed.
They're the words Keith Harden and Jeff Clark have been waiting to hear for a quarter century. Meade County Circuit Judge Bruce Butler granting a motion to dismiss their murder charges. Harden could barely speak.
Overwhelming right now. Something I'll never get over, but, you know, I'm free now.
Harden and Clark were found guilty in 1992 of murdering Rhonda Sue Warford as part of a satanic ritual. But last year, the state Supreme Court vacated those convictions because of new DNA evidence and accusations of wrongdoing by investigators. After Special Prosecutor John Heck chose not to pursue a new trial, this was the final step.
Feel so many different things at once. Well, a lot of people ask me why I ain't so bitter. I'm bitter, but am I going to let it destroy the rest of my life?
We are so happy to have our brother back.
For Harden's sisters, the end of a family ordeal.
A miracle? We never thought it would happen.
Their only regret that their mother did not live to see this. She died in 2015.
She would be crying so hard and she wouldn't let Keith go.
Harden and Clark did not get everything they wanted. The judge dismissed the case without prejudice, meaning charges could be filed later if new evidence surfaces. But attorney Larry Simon of the Innocence Project, which took up the case, says that's very unlikely.
This case is over. It's dismissed.
The two have filed federal wrongful conviction lawsuits. Those cases are still pending. And the mystery of who killed Rhonda Warford remains.
I've lost my life for something I didn't do and being innocent, and somebody out there did it, and they need to be held accountable.
Both Harden and Clark say they don't know what they'll do next, but for the first time in 26 years, they can do whatever they want. In Meade County, Lawrence Smith, WDRB News.
County, this is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago. And so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too, because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Charlotte County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave let's say actually yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, at least I can do it, 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt-free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, if I got, you know, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. You know, 47,000 of you so far right now. You know, $1 a day. I mean, $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.